Welcome to our virtual back to school night. Thank you for being with us tonight. And my name is Mr. Vargas. Javier Vargas is my full name. I'll be the Spanish 2 and 3 teacher this year. Um, so let's see what the class consists of. So welcome. Thank you. A bit about myself, just a bit of background of me. This is my 7th year teaching Spanish at TVHS. I'm a Temecula kid as well. I graduated Chaparral High School a while back and graduated from University of California, Riverside with a bachelor's in history. I have a minor in Spanish and a minor in art history as well. My master's degree, which I just completed recently, is in education from Grand Canyon University. I have taught Spanish 1, 2, 3, and AP prior to this year. I enjoy traveling, music, and technology, just some of my hobbies. And also your kids might know already at this point that I'm a big fan of motorsports. One of those fun facts right there. I've driven a NASCAR car before, so that's a proud moment for me. But moving on to the course objective. So evidently a language course follows state standards. And part of those state standards are the 5 C's. Now, this is just technical jargon of what the class is supposed to consist of, but essentially in simple terms, it's a well-rounded class where we have communication, cultures, connections, comparisons, and communities. Essentially what we're doing is we're using our language acquisition to form connections between culture in our communities, draw comparisons between our communities, and using language as a vehicle to that means. So essentially what we're trying to do is give students a well-rounded perspective of the language, not just simply connected to the vocabulary or the grammar, but also what it entails in those particular areas where it's spoken. Okay, so structure of a typical day. I've tried really hard to make the class structured where we have a very typical day where we have certain topics every day of the week. That way students don't feel confused. Students know exactly what's happening each day of the class, and little to no surprises there. They should know what's going to be covered in the next couple of days, kind of thing. So typically speaking, again, with exceptions here and there for different activities, Mondays are Novela Mondays, as we call them here in class. So this year for Spanish 3, they're watching La Fea Más Bella, and for Spanish 2, they are watching Al Diablo con los Guapos. These are a couple of hit telenovelas that they get to observe. Now, these are done with the intent, of course, to expose them to cultural topics, to cultural themes here that relate to the countries of origin, and of course, hopefully provide some sort of entertainment for them as well. But it is exposure to the language primarily. They get to hear the language spoken by natives at its native speed, if you will. And these are, of course, oriented for native speakers. So it does serve a huge purpose, especially towards the end. Once they've gone through a few of these, they are able to further comprehend what's being told to them in the language. So what consists on Mondays is that students watch an episode of this telenovela. It's approximately 30 minutes, and it is on Canvas. We watch it here in class, but whenever they're absent, they are able to complete it at home. And once they're done with the telenovela, which again is about 30 to 40 minutes long, they get to write a summary or discussion post that they are to do within that day. All novela activities are due on that same day within 24 hours, essentially before midnight. I encourage students, we have usually time here in class to write them up. And I encourage them to write it here in class for the purpose of if they get stuck with anything, if they have any questions on how to write something, or they're trying to create their thoughts, we can help them out here, either their friends, their peers, or myself. Midweek, we got our Tuesday through Thursday activities here. Typically, Tuesdays are reserved for vocabulary activities, and grammar activities are on Wednesday and Thursdays, and these include not only grammar sections, but also reading and writing and speaking activities, all within that midweek. Most of this stuff is done on VHL Central. Now, the thing about these assignments on on the midweek is that they're due 7 days after they're assigned. So if I assign something on a Wednesday, like tonight, they're not due until next Wednesday. And what that does is two things. Number one, it gives them that cushion and that extra breathing room to not have to worry about a homework assignment being forcibly done within that class period or within that day. These are activities that take some time, and there are a challenge many times to work through because it is a different language and it is hard to acquire. So those 7 days allow them that breathing space that they might need. And number two, these assignments are done with the intent of them getting the practice and understanding what they're doing. So they are graded based on accuracy and not just simply on completion. Those 7 days allow them to go back and redo them an unlimited number of times. These assignments are able to be done over and over and over again until they get the hang of it and until they get the answers that they want. So they are, in essence, capable of earning whatever score they feel comfortable earning. If they are having issues and they cannot get certain answers over the next couple of days, they are certainly welcome to ask me or their friends and work together to get those answers and score 100% on that particular assignment. So this is done with those two things in mind. By the end of the week, Friday, we have Cultural Fridays. So on Cultural Fridays, I told the students before, we want to start on a good note with something hopefully entertaining and something that they enjoy, such as a telenovela Monday. And then on the end of the week is Cultural Fridays. We focus on the cultural topic. And that can be anything from a country itself to a custom that they may have somewhere, food, festivities. We just covered festivities this last week. And so we have different topics that come about that are meant to build a bridge between our culture and the Latin or the Hispanic culture there. And so we usually consist of either reading activities and videos or both. And they are to write a reply on that as well, giving their summaries and their thoughts. And that is to be done on Canvas. And that is also due by the end of the day with some cushion right there in how we expect them to finish that. That one does require them to reply to other students as well. So it opens up a conversation and a topic in order to make those connections more prominent. Okay, so that's basically our typical week. This is what their students are going to go through. Monday novelas, vocabulary, grammar, practice with that grammar and vocabulary, and then at the end, cultural discussions that lead to a rounded class week. Here's a screenshot of the Canvas site and the VHL site. This is a space where your students are going to spend most of their time. Canvas is a daily thing. VHL Central is the platform where we have our vocab and grammar activities on. So this is mostly for Tuesday through Thursday activities there, but of course they may be working on this over the weekend as well if they're trying to grasp a concept that's a bit challenging. So this is where everything happens. Now, type of assignments and assessments that we have here. So novella summaries, discussion posts and replies, videos and grammar tutorials, textbook, workbook, online activities, online notes, all this is part of the assignments, right? All of these things form the assignments that we do in class. Now, in formative assessments and summative assessments, we have projects, presentations, traditional quizzes and tests, synchronous games and activities such as Kahoot games. And these are all in order to determine where they're at and how they're doing and where to go back and revisit certain topics if need so. So these are the two types of things that we have in class. All right, for grading policies, all assignments for this class are worth 100% of the grade, and it's a point-based only system. So in other words, there's no weighted categories. In a traditional classroom, or other classrooms at least, we have categories. So let's say a student is doing perfect or turning in every assignment, but the test that they didn't do too well in. But that test is weighted at 50%. That 50% of the weight of that test is going to bring their grade dramatically down. And even though they have everything else turned in, that test weighs so much that it brings down their entire score. And there's nothing they can do about it until the next test or quiz. Well, this alleviates that problem essentially. At this point, points are worth points. 1 point is 1 point, and their entire objective is to accumulate as many points as they possibly can, regardless of whether that is a test, an assignment, a discussion post. We're trying to get them to understand that everything matters in the class, and so the more points you acquire, the better grade you're going to get. Grades are updated regularly through Canvas and VHL Central, and we reflect on Infinite Campus, which is our primary grade system. So ultimately, what you see on Infinite Campus is the main grade. Canvas reflects it very, very closely, if not perfectly, and that's where everything gets inputted, but Infinite Campus is our main system. So I am using all those systems right there, and so we just sync them together. The grade points are, displayed below right here. We got game activities 10 points, participation is 20 points, class and homework assignments 5 to 25 points. Sorry, that's the bell. 5 to 25 points approximately. That's 100 points a week that we're looking at with all the homework assignments that we have, or classwork assignments rather said. Quizzes between 20 and 50 points, projects, tests, exams, and things like that, 50 to 100 points depending on the assignments themselves. All right, so grading policies. So late work will be accepted for 50% of its original point value. This is after the 7 days. So they have 7 days to turn things in. After the 7 days go by, now it's considered late. These late projects or assignments will be worth 50% of the original point value. And they are able to turn that in until the end of the unit, which will be announced to them. We're reaching the end of this unit. Anything you have to turn in work that's late, turn it in now, or it won't be accepted later. That's kind of the idea. So hopefully with the 7 days that they have to work through the activities with everything that's given to them, that should be enough time for them to work through the assignments or ask and request help when necessary. What ways can students improve the grade in the class if they are not doing too well? Well, students are given daily intervention time. So we have intervention here in class for every day. If they want to come into the class to get the additional help, all they have to do is request me and say, can you invite me to your intervention class, at which point I'll work one-on-one with them. We also have plenty of time in class to work on these activities for the most part, so we are able to help them as much as they need to. Assignments, again, are unlimited tries, so they have unlimited tries within those 7 days, so they can go back at it and try to polish that and try to figure out what's going on with that and understand the concepts. And if they ever need help, they can ask me. They can chat with friends. Literally in the system, there's a way to chat with other people who are working in the same web page, and they can work together with their homework assignments. So I'm very open to that collaboration part. Quizzes and tests may be taken up to 3 different times to improve scores. So our quizzes and tests are on the computer as well, and they get 3 different tries. So if they don't do too well on the first attempt, they can go back and figure out what went wrong and have multiple attempts. Now, the tests and quizzes are clearly not unlimited, but they do have 3 attempts for that. Last but not least, we are working heavily online. It's not fully online like it was during quarantine time or during the distance learning time, but it's still important to address what is expected from them since they are speaking to each other, talking to each other through communication boards. So here's a quick breakdown. Basically, we're following district guidelines and, be scholarly, polite, respectful, professional, avoid using sarcastic words, misleading information, misinforming, privacy, typical things that we would imagine students would abide by. We have discussed these things with your students already, and they are doing a pretty good job with that. So not really a concern, but why don't you just put that out. Communication, last but not least, the way that that I would like you guys to communicate with me is, of course, through either email or phone calls. Now, the phone number is on the syllabus, and that is a way to communicate with me. You can leave me a voicemail, but I am limited to school hours there, so it is really hard for me to get back to you on the phone, but it is a method of communication. The preferred method will be the email method. So send me an email within 24 hours, at most 48. If I'm really backed up on information it's the weekend, I'll get back to you with your concerns or your questions. The preferred method of communication for students, however, excuse me, is Canvas. Canvas is very, very easy to work with. Students have already messaged me through Canvas. It is most efficient. I do get a lot of emails a day, so if they want an answer and they want it faster than expected, of course, Canvas will allow for that to happen. Okay, so these are the communication methods there. And I believe that is it. That is our basic breakdown. So I thank you for joining us today in our back to school night. Any questions you may have for me that wasn't covered in this brief introduction of the class, please don't hesitate to email me or give me a call, and I'll try to answer your questions as best possible. I'm looking forward to the school year. It's been going great so far. It's been a great return. I'm happy to be back with everybody, and I'm sure and hopeful that you're students are also excited to be back in person. Things are going well, but if you have any concerns, again, please let me know. Thank you very much for your time, and we'll be in touch. This will be a good school year. Thank you.